So we're going to talk about 3 USPs, which is the unique selling points of the school, which is inter-year learning, bilingual education, and project-based learning. So if you look at a school, a normal school or any international school for that matter, what happens is you have grades, you have your kindergarten, primary, and you have your secondary. So in primary, it's again segregated into grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, same for secondary and higher secondary. But what this school focuses on, for example, if you say primary, it's grade 1 to grade 4. So instead of having individual classrooms, you have an integrated system, which means all your learners sit in a classroom together. So whatever you are learning, it's what each individual person picks up. So you have a common topic in focus, but how much information is received by each learner, that is where your levels come into play. Bilingual meaning too, and this being German International School, it's German and English. So now the system that is followed over here is English is the medium in which we communicate, and that's what's followed in this school. But a parent can opt and say, maybe for math or science or for a language, we would like the communication to be restricted to German. So that is a call that's taken by a parent, and if so, then they are educated in that one mode of communication. Now, project-based learning is related to inter-year learning. So over here, it's another dynamic system. It's an approach, a dynamic approach to learning, where you focus on a particular theme or a topic, and that is what's taught to them over a base of 6 months to 3 months. So for example, if we look at kindergarten today in school, right now they're learning about space. So what happens over here is, if you say space, the first thing that comes to your head is space, sky, stars, moon. But what goes beyond that? So you get into a little more detailing, and this detailing is done with holistic education, which means it plays with their senses, it plays with touch, it plays with sight, it plays with your communication, with smell. So different forms is integrated into project-based learning. And this is done to integrate and also to encourage your skills of a particular child as such. There is always a question that is raised, which is, how do you teach grade 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, in one classroom? Isn't it a mishmash? Isn't it going to lead to miscommunication or confusion? Because each learner has a different way of receiving information depending on what year they are in. So, no, there is no confusion. What happens over here is, it's more as an open platform. So the teacher explains certain concepts to your learner, then she steps back. So what happens is, it is the learners together need to understand and need to complete certain tasks. So if you have a young learner and you give them a task, maybe they need a little more time to receive information. So the learners who are a little more high in the level of learning, they step in, and they are the people who will guide the younger learners. So there is independence as well as interdependence. So this also builds on the skills of your young learners as well as the learners who are at a higher level of education. Again, there's a big debate as to, my child, it's better for them to learn one language at a time because it leads to confusion. Now there's a lot of research that has been done on this, and one of the conclusions which is based on, for example, if you have a child, when a child is born, he is very receptive to his mother's voice or his father's voice, because that is the first sounds that they hear. So they know exactly. So if there are many people in the room, as soon as the mom talks, they know. So they are a little calm and they are aware. The same applies with language because it's to do with phonetics. So if you start talking to a child from the time they are young, they start drawing and grasping certain phonetic sounds. So even though they might not understand a sentence, they understand sounds. So by the time from words to fragments of phrases to sentences. That's what helps them build on language. So it is good to start them off with bilingual education at a young age. Maybe not too many languages together because it has phonetics and sound play, but it also helps develop your mind and your mind play because there's your left side of your brain and your right side of your brain. So this just helps in developing a balance between both sides. Now, as I said, project-based learning, it is linked to inter-year learning. So as I said, for example, right now what they're doing in kindergarten is a project on space. How do they take it further? So yes, you're learning certain concepts. Yes, there are higher level education kids, the grades 4 are teaching grade 1, or even if you look at kindergarten, your preschool level is teaching your toddler level. So there is a lot of exchange of information. But beyond this, what happens is in project-based learning is there are presentations. So whatever a child has learned, there is some form of presentation done by a child. So this helps them in developing their oral skills, helps them in being a little more independent. It helps them in being more confident when facing a crowd or facing certain individuals, and it also helps a rapport in their skills. So it's an overall enhancement for a child. Also, what's done in project basis, yes, presentation, yes, they've learned. There's also something where they go out and they experience it for themselves. So if it's a field trip, we locate certain places where they can also draw from information and they can also relate to it. So they say, oh, we learned this and now we are seeing it. So there is you learning this visuals as well as you experiencing for yourself. So that's project-based. This is a major question that many people have because there's so many different fields and so many different levels to this. So what's done in school is you have your teacher training that takes place. So what happens in your teacher training is we teach them, for example, if a teacher comes in for the first time to school, they start off as a trainee, as you do it in any other school. So there's a trainee level, junior, senior, and then you have your coach level. So this is the ladder where they climb up. So what happens over here is for any person to be aware of this system more than having a verbal communication and giving them lots of material to read, there is something that we follow which is known as observation. So a teacher goes through a full-fledged 1 to 2 months of just observation. So they follow certain teachers which are at your senior level and your coach level, so they understand what is happening in a classroom. So they get teaching experience as well as they sit with the teacher and they understand how to plan their lessons because it is inter-year. So in a class you have to be sure and confident of teaching different levels. Now all of this comes under a banner of SIE. SIE is Supreme International Education. So this is an overseeing body which ensures the quality. We observe the teachers and we tend to see if they have covered certain milestones. So we have a tracking record. So we like, okay, the trainee has been able to accomplish the milestones. Let's move him or her to the junior level. So that's how from trainee to junior to senior to coach. But beyond this, which is your practical knowledge of actually going into a classroom, we have something that's known as thesis. Now a thesis is a written paper. Now what happens is, it's not a generalized topic, it's something that will benefit teachers who would read it. It's information that a teacher is good at and they would like to impart to others. So what happens is this is put in the form of a thesis. So once they cover this, they are certified